The reality is that 1912 was a very, very important year. In 1912, they were understanding what they needed to do. See, in 1907, after the last bank run, up to about 1911, excuse me, in 1911, what they had to accomplish is a new way of thinking about this. So in 1911, they were working through Jekyll Island. The Creature of Jekyll Island is a great book. You got to read it. It's 25 years old. It's a superlative understanding of the Fed. So first off, it was the Aldrich Act that was right around here a little bit before this major election time frame. And the Aldrich Act was a central bank, and it was roundly pushed out. And Aldrich backed his way out of this thing so that he wouldn't be forward on this point. Now, in 1912, we have Woodrow Wilson and Teddy Roosevelt fighting against each other, right and left. There you go again, right and left. And guess what they both were? They both were backed by the federal bankers. Now, at the time, they were just the J.P. Morgan, the other different trust points out there. And they were backing it so that they could push through the Federal Reserve. But there's a problem. So even if they get the election here, they needed to get some of the power puppies out of the way. The Titanic is a powerful point that we have to consider. First off, the Titanic happens in April of 1912. J.P. Morgan actually has ownership of the White Star Line. Now, one of the problems that happens inside of the White Star Line that you're not following is that we have two carriers that are, or two ships in essence, that are sister ships, and it's the Titanic versus, excuse me, I'm blanking the name out here. Oh, right, the Olympus. Just had a brain fart there. Okay, sorry. So what happened is that the real Titanic actually had a small wreck. It wasn't huge, but it was a small wreck. So what they did, so that they could make this correct, they renamed this the Titanic. Now, why would they would take the Olympus carrier and rename it into the Titanic? For a couple money reasons. Number one, if this goes down, you only get $3 million from the insurance money. But if a new one goes down, you get $11 million. So we should change the name. By the way, when you go through the records of this whole thing, it's ridiculous. You can find it out. You don't even have to trust me. You can go through a PBS broadcast that actually explains this whole thing. Now, one of the problems that happens as they go along, as well as a billion other issues, is that first-class passengers have always been known at the time frame or easy to get off the ship. Now we have around 2,200 people and only around 1,500 go down with 700 people-ish getting off the ship. Now we easily have enough room in the boats, but why do three dudes, John Astor, Isidore Straus, and Benjamin Guggenheim, who would all be $11 billion representation. We're talking about billionaires, okay? Why would they not be a part of this group of people getting off the ship? They could. Have you ever seen a billionaire that doesn't rush up in front of the line and say, my life is more important than yours? You've never seen that. But how come all three of them were against the Federal Reserve? This was the first of called a false flag. Now, a false flag, sorry, doing that a little bit wrong there. The false flag is a type of event that you kill a whole bunch of people. This is what the cabal does. Look over here. Don't look at what we're doing over here. look over here, focus on this. So they wanted you to focus on the tragedy of the Titanic and not how they were killing off 3 important members who would have sunk the Fed. They had to kill those guys off. But they did it through a gigantic lie. That's how false flags work. And we'll talk more and more as we go along here. So this allowed the Federal Reserve to come in under Wilson's control.